People say every story has a beginning, but mine didn't start with some heroic moment or life-changing opportunity. It started with mockery. For as long as I remember, people saw me as the guy who cared too much. Too loyal. Too soft. Too kind for his own good. In their words, I was the simp, the one everyone laughed at. I never planned to be that person. I didn't wake up thinking, let me make a fool of myself today. But life had a way of placing me into situations where my heart always ran ahead of my brain. And the world punished me for it. 1. The label that followed me everywhere. It started in school, when I used to carry the bags of my classmates, help girls with their assignments, and volunteer to arrange events no one else wanted to do. They liked using me. I liked feeling useful. But eventually, helping turned into habit, habit turned into expectation, and expectation turned into mockery. Bro, stop simping. You think being nice will get you somewhere? Look at him. If kindness was money, he'd be a billionaire by now. Every joke was followed by laughter. Every laugh carved a little deeper into my confidence. But I swallowed it all, thinking it didn't matter. After all, what was wrong with helping people? I didn't know then that the world wasn't kind to kind people. 2. The crush everyone knew about. By college, the label had stuck. People didn't even call me by my name, just Simp. And the main reason behind it was Isa. She wasn't just beautiful. She had that personality that made the whole room feel brighter. I admired her quietly from the sidelines, thinking my feelings were invisible. But of course they weren't. Not when I accidentally looked at her a bit too long. Not when I defended her in class. And especially not when I once walked half the campus just to return her forgotten notebook. Oh God, he's simping again. Bro, she doesn't even know your name. Stop humiliating yourself. What they didn't know was that I wasn't trying to win her. I just liked her. I liked helping her. I liked the idea of being someone she could rely on. But in the real world, intentions didn't matter, only labels did. And once again, I became the joke. 3. The moment everything broke. It was the last semester of college. Everyone was preparing for internships and job interviews. I was always the quiet one in the back row, doing my assignments, minding my business, and staying invisible. But the day I finally gathered the courage to talk to Isa properly, fate had other plans. I saw her struggling to carry a box of event supplies. Before thinking, I rushed to help her. Let me carry it. It's heavy, I said, trying to sound casual. She smiled. Thanks, you're always so helpful. Those words, that smile, they made the whole world stop for a moment. But the moment didn't last. Because that's when her friends walked in. Oh look, the official simp is here. Isa, he would probably carry you if you asked. Careful, give him hope and he'll write poetry. They laughed. Isa didn't. But she didn't defend me either. And that silence broke something in me. Even later, when she softly said, "Don't take them seriously," I couldn't respond. Because she could have stopped them. But she didn't. Maybe she didn't see the harm. Maybe she didn't see me at all. 4. Entering the real world as the soft one. After college, I thought things would be different. That maybe, in the world of adults, no one would care about labels. I was wrong. My first job was in a small marketing firm. I worked harder than everyone else, stayed late, covered shifts, did tasks outside my job description. But instead of appreciating me, coworkers took advantage of me. Bro, can you finish this report for me? You're free, right? Just arrange the meeting room. You don't mind helping, nah? You're chill. Chill. Soft. Simp. Different words, same meaning. Even my boss used to say, "You're too nice. Learn to say no." I tried. But every time someone asked for help, the word no got stuck in my throat. Maybe kindness was my flaw. Maybe weakness was. 5. The night that changed it all. It was a Friday evening. The office had planned a small gathering at a rooftop cafe. I didn't want to go, but they forced me. Everything was normal until the drinks started flowing and people got comfortable. That's when one of my coworkers, Samir, said loudly, "Yar, honestly, you know what we call you behind your back?" Everyone laughed before he even finished. "You're the company simp." They laughed again. Louder. Without hesitation. Someone added, "If an Employee of the Month award existed for being used, you'd win." I just stood there, frozen. My throat tightened. My chest felt heavy. I wasn't just a joke among college kids anymore. I was a joke among adults, coworkers, people I respected. That night, something changed. I walked out of that gathering without a word. I stood outside on the street, staring at the city lights, feeling smaller than I had ever felt. I wasn't angry. I wasn't hurt. I was simply tired. Tired of being everyone's backup, everyone's helper, everyone's easy target. Tired of living a life where no one took me seriously. 6. The turning point I didn't expect. I went home that night and looked in the mirror. I didn't see the person I wanted to be. I didn't see strength. I didn't see confidence. I didn't see dignity. All I saw was a version of me shaped by other people's expectations. That's when I made a quiet promise to myself. I would no longer let people define me. I would no longer let kindness be mistaken for weakness. I would change my life, step by step. I didn't know how. I didn't know when. But something deep inside me stirred, maybe for the first time ever. A spark. A voice that whispered, "Your story isn't ending here. It's beginning." I didn't know then that the very next chapter of my life would involve a woman far beyond my world. A CEO who could read my thoughts. A woman who saw something in me no one else ever did. A woman who would turn the simp everyone laughed at into the man the world couldn't ignore. The day I first met her didn't feel extraordinary at all. It was a normal Monday morning. Humid air, noisy traffic, and my cheap dress shirt already clinging to my back. I was on my way to my new job, hoping this time things would finally be different. Little did I know, this one normal morning would change my entire life. I had joined Aurora Enterprises, one of the top corporations in the city, as a junior assistant. A small role, a tiny cubicle, and a salary barely above survival. But to me it felt like a fresh start, a chance to finally leave my simp past behind. But fate had something else planned for me. 1. The whispered legend of the CEO. The moment I entered the building, I noticed the tense atmosphere. People walked fast, heads lowered, whispers flying between them like nervous birds. "Did you hear? She's coming today. She hasn't visited this branch in months. Just keep your head down and don't do anything stupid." She. I didn't know who they meant, but I could sense the fear. When I reached my desk, my coworker Sonia leaned closer and whispered, "New guy, listen carefully. If there's one person you should never cross here, it's her." "Her who?" I asked. "Our CEO." She swallowed. "Arwa Halim. The Ice Queen." I raised an eyebrow. "Ice Queen? You'll see. She's brilliant, stunning, terrifying, and completely emotionless." She shivered. One glare from her, and even the managers go silent. I laughed lightly. Sounds exaggerated. But Sonia wasn't joking. "You'll understand when you see her. Just pray she doesn't notice you." If only she knew. Not only would she notice me, she would hear every thought I tried to hide. 2. A storm in high heels. The atmosphere changed sharply around 10 a.m. Phone stopped ringing. People sat straighter. Conversation died instantly. The elevators pinged. And she walked out. The sight hit me like a punch of cold wind. Tall. Elegant. Sharp. Dressed in a snow-white suit that matched her reputation. Black heels clicking against the marble like a countdown. Hair tied in a sleek twist. Eyes cold, calm, and terrifyingly intelligent. She wasn't just beautiful. She radiated authority. Everyone stood. Some bowed their heads. Some tried to shrink into their seats. She didn't look at a single one of them. Her expression was unreadable, like a queen entering her kingdom, unaffected by the people worshipping her. And then, for a fraction of a second, her eyes flicked toward me. Just one glance. Cold. Sharp. Assessing. Something inside me froze. So this is her. The Ice Queen. My heart thudded like I'd been caught doing something wrong. She kept walking. I exhaled slowly. But I didn't know. That 1 second had already changed the direction of my entire life. 3. A mistake that should have ruined everything. Around noon, I was given a simple task: deliver a file to the boardroom. Easy. Until the door swung open, just as I reached for the handle. And I walked straight into her. Literally. The impact was light, but my heart nearly stopped. The file fell from my hands, pages scattering like snowflakes on the floor. I froze. Everyone around me froze. Time froze. And she stared at me. The air felt colder. Her gaze wasn't angry. It was worse. It was calculating. "Are you new?" she asked, her voice cool and smooth like polished glass. "Why, yes, ma'am," I stuttered. "I'm really sorry. I didn't mean." "Apologies waste time," she cut in. "Pick up the papers." I dropped to the floor instantly, fumbling with the pages, wishing the earth would swallow me whole. People whispered behind me. "He's dead. Poor guy, first day. She'll fire him." My hands shook as I gathered the last sheet. Then I looked up, and saw her watching me silently. Not irritated, not disgusted, just observing. Her expression unreadable. When I stood, she took the file from my hand. Our fingers brushed for a millisecond, and my heart skipped. Then something impossible happened. She tilted her head slightly, as if she'd heard something. Her eyes widened by a fraction, almost unnoticeable, and I realized, in horror, I had been thinking too loudly. She's so beautiful. God, I look like an idiot. Please don't fire me. Please. Her gaze sharpened. I swallowed. Return to your desk, she said quietly. We'll speak later. Everyone around me went still. Later? My stomach twisted. I had definitely ruined everything. For the summoning. Hours passed, each second heavier than the last. Everyone avoided me like I was a walking disaster. Some even pretended not to know me. At 4:15 p.m., a message popped on my screen. CEO Arwa requests you in her office. Now. My heart dropped. This was it. My job, the one fresh start I thought I had, was over. I walked through the silent halls, each step echoing like a countdown to my execution. When I reached her door, I hesitated, but her voice came from inside. Enter. I pushed the door open. Her office was vast, minimalist, white and silver, cold but beautiful. She sat behind her desk, writing something, without looking at me. I stood there silently. After a moment, she finally spoke. You think you ruined your first day. My heart stopped. She wasn't asking. She was repeating what I had thought earlier. And then it hit me. That moment in the hallway. That tiny flinch in her eyes. She wasn't reacting to my mistake. She was reacting to my thoughts. 5. The moment she heard me. She stood and walked toward me slowly. Her heels clicked softly. Her perfume smelled cool, expensive, like winter rain. She stopped barely 2 feet away. Tell me, she said quietly. Why do you think you're a burden? My breath hitched. I hadn't said that today. I had thought it, right before entering her office. I stepped back unconsciously. How do you? Her eyes locked onto mine, calm but strangely intense. People lie. Words lie. She touched her temple. But thoughts don't. My blood ran cold. She wasn't normal. She wasn't just a cold CEO. She could hear what I didn't say. What I didn't want anyone to know. My deepest insecurity. My fear. My shame. My past. Everything was exposed. I felt naked under her gaze. She tilted her head slightly, studying me like a puzzle. You're different from the others, she murmured. Your mind is quiet. Honest. Loyal. Her words made my chest tighten. Loyal? No one had ever seen me that way. People always saw a fool, a pushover, a joke. But she saw loyalty. She saw the part of me I had buried under mockery and hurt. Why? Why me? She stepped even closer, so close I could feel her breath. Don't be afraid, she said softly. I won't hurt you. But that didn't calm me, because what scared me wasn't her power. It was the way she looked at me, as if she already knew I would become important to her. As if fate had tied us together long before I stepped into her office. 6. The first crack in the ice. Just when I thought she would dismiss me, she unexpectedly smiled. A small, gentle smile. Not cold. Not sharp. Warm, shockingly warm. If you can survive today, she said, you'll survive anything here. My eyes widened. Was she encouraging me? The Ice Queen? She walked back to her desk and sat down. Come tomorrow on time, she said. You're not fired. I blinked. Not fired? I won't disappoint you, I said. Her gaze softened for a heartbeat. I know. My breath caught. How did she know? Of course, she had heard my determination as a thought. I stepped out of her office, closing the door behind me. And only then did it hit me. The world had mocked me my whole life. But for the first time ever, someone powerful, someone unreachable, someone feared. And that terrified me more than anything. For the next few days, I walked around the office like a man carrying a secret no one would ever believe. A CEO who could read minds. My mind. My embarrassing, insecure, panicked thoughts. And the most terrifying part was, she didn't just read them. She understood them. Every time she walked past me, my heartbeat betrayed me. Every glance she gave, every small pause. I wondered, did she hear that? Did she catch this thought too? I had never been more self-conscious about simply existing. The look that saw through me. On Wednesday morning, I arrived early, mostly because I barely slept. As I arranged documents on my desk, I saw her reflection in the glass wall. The Ice Queen, walking with slow, confident steps, her heels clicking in a rhythm that commanded the room. Everyone instantly straightened. Screens lit up. Coffee mugs were hidden. Silence spread like mist. I lowered my head, pretending to be very busy. But she stopped near my desk. "Good morning," she said. My head snapped up. She never greeted anyone. Not even the managers. "Gee, good morning, ma'am," I said. She glanced at the papers in my hands. "You reviewed this twice," she said calmly. My heart froze. Because yes, I had reviewed it twice, but only in my head. I hadn't told anyone. I hadn't even spoken since she entered. Then it hit me. She heard it. Oh God, what else did she hear? My sudden panic screamed inside my mind. Her gaze flicked to my face. Not angry. Not mocking. Just aware. "I only hear what's loud," she said quietly. She wasn't talking about sound. She was talking about my thoughts. Then she walked into her office, leaving me trembling. 2. The accident that revealed everything. Around noon, she called me. "Bring the quarterly reports to my office." Alone. My legs went numb. Alone? In her office? Again. I grabbed the files and walked like a man going toward judgment. I knocked. Enter. Her office smelled like perfume and cool air. The sunlight hit the glass walls, reflecting off her white suit. She stood near the window, arms crossed. "Set the files on the table," she said. I did. My hands shook. She noticed. Of course she did. "Relax," she said without looking back. I tried, but she immediately murmured. That didn't help. My eyes widened. She had heard that too. She turned slightly, studying me with unreadable eyes. "You're thinking too loudly today." I'm trying not to think anything at all," I blurted before realizing how stupid that sounded. She raised an eyebrow. A hint of amusement, just a tiny curve of her lips, touched her expression. "That's not how the mind works." I swallowed hard. She walked toward me slowly, each step quiet and controlled. Then she stopped only a foot away. "Tell me," she said gently, "why does it scare you so much that I hear your thoughts?" I stared at her, speechless. She tilted her head. "You think I judge you," she murmured. "You think your thoughts are messy, embarrassing, weak." She paused. "But they're not." My breath caught. She wasn't just reading my mind. She was reading my soul. The walls I had kept up for years, the ones built by mockery and ridicule, she saw right through them. And then something happened that I will never forget. The clipboard slipped from my hand. Papers scattered across her office floor. I cursed internally. Not again. Not in front of her. But instead of reacting coldly, she crouched down beside me and helped me gather them. Her fingers brushed mine, not accidentally, but gently. And then I heard her whisper, "You're not useless." My eyes snapped to her. I hadn't said anything. But inside, in that panicked moment, I had thought, "I'm useless. I mess up everything." She heard it, and she corrected it. Quietly, softly, like it mattered. Like I mattered. 3, when she finally admitted it. After we picked up the documents, she stood, dusting her hands lightly. "You think your mind is weak," she said, facing the window. "But it's stronger than most." I blinked. "How?" She didn't turn around. "Because you don't hide," she said. "Because you feel deeply. And because every thought you have is honest." I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. "And," she added, "your loyalty is unusual." My stomach twisted. Loyalty. That word again. Why did she keep saying it? Why did she care? "You could read anyone," I said quietly. "Why me?" This time she turned. Her eyes softened, something rare, like seeing sunlight on snow. "Because most people's minds are noisy, selfish, dirty. Yours," she stepped closer, "is different." I felt heat crawl up my neck. Different. In a world that mocked me, belittled me, laughed at me. She said I was different. She stepped even closer, now only inches away. "It's peaceful in your mind," she whispered. "You're simple." I blinked, hurt. "Simple." She shook her head softly. "That's not an insult." She raised her hand slowly, almost hesitating, then placed it on my chest. "You don't pretend. That makes you rare." My heart hammered so loudly she probably didn't need mind reading to notice. Her voice dropped even lower. "And that's why I hear you so clearly." 4. The truth I never expected. I didn't know what to say. What do you say to a woman who can hear everything you don't say? She pulled her hand back gracefully. "I don't read minds all the time," she said. "Not unless someone's thoughts are loud or important." I stared. "Important?" I repeated, confused. She nodded once. "You." My breath caught. "Me." Before I could process that, she finished. Your thoughts matter to me. That sentence hit me harder than anything in my life. I felt something warm bloom in my chest, something I hadn't felt in years. Worth, significance, value. But I couldn't let myself believe it easily. Why? I whispered. Why do I matter? Her eyes softened so gently I almost didn't recognize her. Because for the first time, she said quietly, being able to hear someone's thoughts doesn't feel like a curse. I froze. Was she opening up? The Ice Queen CEO? The woman no one dared to speak to? The woman who lived behind walls higher than skyscrapers? She took a slow breath. My whole life, people lied to me, betrayed me, used me. She looked at me with a sadness that cracked her cold mask. Your mind is the only place I've found honesty. I didn't know what to say. Her loneliness hit me like a punch. No wonder she was cold. No wonder she was distant. No wonder she locked her heart away. All her life, she had been surrounded by noise, lies, schemes. And then, I walked into her world. A nobody. A simp. A joke. Yet she heard something in me worth trusting. Something worth protecting. Maybe. Even something worth loving. 5. The moment everything changed. She stepped back slightly, regaining her composure. We'll talk again, she said softly. Not now. But soon. I nodded, heart pounding. And, she added, don't be afraid of your thoughts. I swallowed. I'll try. She gave the smallest smile, a real one, not the cold, polite type. You don't have to try, she murmured. I already hear the truth. I stood frozen even after she dismissed me. Because I knew. This moment, this conversation, this connection. It wasn't normal. It wasn't professional. It wasn't accidental. Something had shifted. She wasn't just a CEO. And I wasn't just an employee. She heard me. The real me. The me no one else had ever cared to see. And for the first time in my life, someone powerful wasn't laughing at me. She was looking at me. Seeing me. Choosing me. Even if she hadn't said it yet. I could feel it. This was the beginning of something dangerous, beautiful, and life-changing. Some moments in life don't feel real when they happen. They feel like scenes from a movie, beautiful, surreal, impossible. And then there are moments so unpredictable that even your imagination could never create them. The night she proposed to me was both. It wasn't planned. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't normal. It was raw. It was strange. It was overwhelming. And it changed everything. 1. The silence before the storm. A week had passed since the day she admitted my thoughts mattered. A week of stolen glances. A week of silent conversations. A week of her hearing things I didn't dare speak aloud. She didn't invade my mind constantly, just when emotions spiked. Fear. Nervousness. Confusion. She picked up on all of them. I didn't know what we were. Friends? Something more? Something dangerous? But one thing was clear. I was no longer invisible to her. And that alone was terrifying. 2. Her message that changed my night. Friday evening. Everyone was preparing to leave. People rushed toward the elevators, happy to escape work. I was packing my bag slowly when my phone vibrated. From Arwa Halim. Come to the rooftop. Alone. Now. My breath hitched. Alone? Rooftop? At night. This wasn't normal. My heart hammered as I took the private elevator up. The rooftop was dimly lit, a cold breeze moving across the open space. And there she was, standing near the edge, city lights behind her, hair blowing softly. She looked human. Not the Ice Queen. Not the CEO. Just a woman carrying a storm inside her. She didn't turn when I approached. You came, she said quietly. Your message sounded important, I said. It is. She inhaled slowly. Close the door behind you. Her tone made my stomach tighten. This wasn't a casual conversation. Something huge was coming. 3. The moment her walls crumbled. She finally turned to face me. And for the first time since I met her, she looked uncertain. Not cold. Not stern. Not unreadable. Just unsure. I've been thinking, she said, voice softer than ever. And I need you to listen without panic. My pulse quickened. That warning alone was enough to scare me. She took a step closer. You know I can hear thoughts, she said. I nodded. But there's one thought I keep hearing from you every day. My face heated. Oh God, please not the embarrassing ones. But she shook her head slightly. It's not fear. Not insecurity. She paused. It's loneliness. I swallowed. She looked into my eyes with a vulnerability I had never seen before. You think you don't deserve love. You think no one would choose you. Her voice barely above a whisper. That thought is louder than anything. I stiffened. She wasn't wrong. For years, I believed that no matter how hard I loved, no matter how deeply I cared, no one would pick me. Too soft. Too ordinary. Too simple. But hearing her say it aloud, I couldn't even breathe. 4. Her confession that broke me. She stepped even closer, now standing just inches away. Your thoughts have shown me more honesty than any person in my life ever has. I stared at her, unable to react. And somewhere along the way, she hesitated, actually hesitated. I grew attached. My throat dried instantly. Attached? To your mind, she whispered. And to you. My chest tightened so hard it hurt. She looked away for a moment, composing herself. You may not realize this, but you're the only person I can trust. The only one whose mind doesn't hide or deceive. She took a sharp breath. Do you know how rare that is for someone like me? I shook my head silently. To me, she said, your thoughts feel like home. My heart stopped. Home. She, Arwa Halim, the CEO who intimidated the entire city, was telling me I felt like home. 5. The proposal that didn't feel real. She stepped back slightly, as if preparing for something monumental. Listen carefully, she said. This isn't a joke. It isn't impulsive. And I am completely serious. I nodded, frozen. Her voice was steady, her eyes fierce, her expression calm, but her heart was loud enough that even I could feel it. I want you in my life, she said. Not as an employee, not as a friend. She exhaled. But as my partner. I blinked hard. She wasn't saying what I thought she was saying. But then she continued. My life is complicated. People lie, betray, manipulate. I have wealth, power, influence, but no one I trust. She stepped closer again. You are the only one I can be vulnerable with. The only one whose thoughts soothe mine. She held my gaze with astonishing intensity. So I'm asking you something insane. My heart pounded so loudly, I was sure she could hear it. I want you to marry me. Everything inside me exploded in shock. What? I whispered. She continued without flinching. I will give you half my fortune. Half my company. Half everything I own if you say yes. I felt dizzy. Half her fortune? Half the company. This wasn't a proposal. This was life-changing. World-shifting. My voice trembled. But why me? She stepped so close the air between us disappeared. Because I don't hear lies when I hear you, she whispered. Because I feel safe when you're near. Because you're the only mind that doesn't hurt mine. Her eyes softened, shattering every icy layer she had. And because every day, your thoughts say something you never admit out loud. I swallowed. What? She touched my cheek gently. So gently it felt unreal. You want someone to choose you. Her thumb brushed my skin. So let me be that person. My breath shattered. She wasn't offering money. She wasn't offering status. She was offering herself. Her voice dropped to a soft, trembling confession. I choose you. 6. The moment I broke. My knees almost buckled. I wasn't ready for this. Not emotionally. Not mentally. Not financially. Not in any way. All my insecurities hit me at once. Why would she want me? What if I disappoint her? What if I'm not enough? She heard every doubt. Every fear. Her hand slid to my jaw, steady and warm. You are enough, she whispered. You've always been enough. My vision blurred. No one had ever said that to me. Not once in my life. And now this powerful, brilliant, terrifying woman was saying it like a vow. I didn't realize I was crying until she wiped a tear with her thumb. No more loneliness, she murmured. Not for you. Not for me. Then she stepped back slightly. Say yes, she said, voice trembling with hope, and I'll build a world with you. I could barely breathe. I wasn't dreaming. I wasn't imagining. This was real. She, the Ice Queen CEO, had just proposed to me, and she was offering half her fortune in return. Not as a transaction, but as a promise, a declaration, a choice. 7. And then, I answered. I took a shaky breath. Then another. She waited. Silent. Scared. Hopeful. Her eyes searched mine, reading every emotion, every hesitation, every truth. I could have said no. I could have run away. I could have rejected everything. But the truth was, all my life, I had wanted just one thing. Someone who wouldn't laugh at me. Someone who wouldn't use me. Someone who wouldn't leave. And there she was, choosing me with her whole heart and half her empire. I stepped toward her. Her lips parted softly, her breath catching. And I whispered, Yes. The wind blew. The city lights flickered. And something inside both of us shifted forever. She closed her eyes. Relief. Joy. Peace. Then she opened them again and smiled. A real smile. Not the Ice Queen. Not the CEO. Just Arwa. My husband, she whispered. My heart nearly collapsed. I woke up the next morning in a room so big it felt like a hotel lobby. Marble floors, massive glass windows, a bed that could fit 5 people, and a city skyline that looked like a painting. And yet, it still didn't feel real. Just yesterday, I was living in a rented apartment where the ceiling fan made noises like it was fighting for its life. Now, I was lying under silk sheets worth more than my month's salary. I sat up slowly, still adjusting to the idea that this was my life now. Or rather, this was our life. Because everything around me belonged to her. The Ice Queen CEO. My fiancée. The woman who could hear my thoughts. And the woman who just casually offered me half her fortune. Half. No matter how many times I repeated it, my brain refused to digest it. A soft knock interrupted my spiraling thoughts. The door opened, and in stepped a middle-aged man in a crisp suit. Good morning, sir, he bowed lightly. I'm Harrison, your personal butler. My what? He smiled like he'd seen the shock on 1,000 new billionaires before. I've been instructed by Ms. Rivera to assist you with anything you need. Breakfast is ready in the East Dining Hall. A wardrobe selection has been prepared as well. Wardrobe. I blinked. Yes, sir. Ms. Rivera said, and I quote, he deserves clothes that match his loyalty. My heart did a weird flip. Of course she heard that. She always heard everything. A new world, too big for me. The dining hall was larger than the restaurant where I used to work part-time. A long table stretched across the room, with sunlight pouring through the tall windows and landing on the polished wood. I sat at one end, feeling awkward. There were at least 9 different breakfast dishes in front of me. Is all this for me? Yes, sir, Harrison nodded. Ms. Rivera wanted you to try everything. I exhaled slowly. Luxury hits you in strange ways. Not when you're on a private jet. Not when you see a mansion. Not even when your bank account has more zeros than you've ever seen. No. Luxury hits you when you realize people actually care about your comfort. For someone like me, who spent his entire life being ignored, that feeling was overwhelming. Walking into the office like a different man. When I arrived at the Rivera Corporation headquarters later that day, people stared. Not in the usual, who is this loser way, but as if they were seeing someone entirely new. I was wearing a tailored suit worth more than my entire old wardrobe. My hair was professionally styled, and the security guards greeted me by name. Good morning, Mr. Hale. Mr. Hale. Not kid. Not assistant. Not hey you. I swear I almost looked behind me to see if they were talking to someone else. Employees whispered as I passed. Is that him? The CEO's fiancé? He looks different. For the first time, I didn't shrink away. I didn't walk fast or hide my eyes. I walked like someone who knew he belonged. Well, almost. Her presence still makes me forget how to breathe. When I stepped into her office, I froze. She was standing near the window, wearing a white suit that somehow made her look even more powerful. Her dark hair was tied up, her posture straight, elegant, intimidating. But when she saw me, her expression softened. Only for a moment, but I caught it. You look good, she said. My heart did a stupid flutter. Then she raised an eyebrow. You're thinking too loudly. Oh no. I looked away immediately, too aware of how she could hear everything. She stepped closer. You don't need to be nervous around me, she said gently. You're safe here. With me. Safe. That word hit harder than any luxury. Because money never mattered to me. Status never mattered. But feeling safe? Being valued? That was new. That was priceless. Learning her world. Over the next week, I learned what it meant to live in her world. Private cars. High-end restaurants. Meetings with people who made decisions that shaped entire industries. But also, the loneliness behind it all. Even surrounded by people, she lived in silence. Everyone feared her. No one approached her. No one spoke to her like a human being. Except me. Because she could hear my thoughts, and I never had anything cruel to hide. Sometimes during meetings, her mind brushed against mine. You're overthinking. Stop worrying. Just breathe. You're doing fine. And somehow, those silent words comforted me more than anything else. When luxury stops being about money. One evening, after a long business event, we returned to her mansion. She stood at the balcony, looking over the city. Her city. Do you regret it? she asked suddenly. Regret what? Marrying me, she said quietly. My world is overwhelming. I know that. I stepped beside her. She always looked invincible, untouchable. But in that moment, she looked human. No, I said. I don't regret it. She turned her head slightly, waiting. I'm still overwhelmed, I admitted. Everything is too big, too expensive, too unreal. But the only thing that matters is, I'm not alone anymore. Her eyes softened. For someone who could read minds, she still looked like she needed to hear it spoken aloud. And luxury? I added with a small smile. It hits differently when you share it with someone who actually cares. Her lips curved, barely, but enough to steal my breath. You matter more than the world thinks, she whispered. I felt warmth in my chest I couldn't explain. The moment I realized the truth. That night, lying in the softest bed I'd ever touched, I finally accepted the truth. She didn't offer me half her fortune because she was lonely. She didn't choose me because she could hear my thoughts. She chose me because she saw something in me that I never saw in myself. Trust, loyalty, kindness, qualities priceless even to a billionaire. Luxury didn't change me, but she did. And now, I wasn't just living in a billionaire's world. I was becoming part of her life. A life I never expected, but one I wouldn't trade for anything. For days, everything felt like a dream I was scared to wake up from. Luxury, respect, her presence, her silent voice brushing through my mind. But behind all of it, there was something else. A shadow in her eyes. A heaviness she tried to hide behind her perfectly controlled expression. I didn't notice it at first. Or maybe I didn't want to. But the truth has a way of revealing itself. Especially when someone can hear thoughts you don't even realize you're having. One evening, as we sat together in her private study, I felt the shift the moment it happened. She was staring at a folder on her desk, completely still. Not cold. Not bossy. Not CEO-like. Just frozen. Like someone preparing themselves to walk through fire. And before I could say anything, her thoughts echoed faintly in my head. Not directed at me, just slipping out. He deserves to know. But what if he leaves? What if I lose the only honest voice I've ever had? My chest tightened. She lifted her eyes slowly. Sit, she said quietly. There's something I need to tell you. I sat. Not because she was a CEO. Not because she was my fiancé. But because I could feel the weight of this moment pressing on her like a burden she carried for years. Her family was not what I expected. She didn't speak immediately. Instead, she opened the folder and slid it toward me. Photos. Old documents. Newspapers. Articles I had never seen. It didn't take long for me to understand. Her parents weren't simple business people. They were powerful. Too powerful. The kind of powerful that came with secrets big enough to bury cities. Her father, who I always assumed was a respectable figure, wasn't just a businessman. He controlled industries from the shadows. Invested in companies only to manipulate them. Bought politicians. Destroyed rivals. Forced mergers through threats no one dared to talk about. And all that wealth, her wealth, came from it. I looked up at her, stunned. She wasn't crying. She didn't tremble. But her eyes told the story her voice refused to break over. I didn't earn any of this, she said, barely above a whisper. I inherited corruption. The words hit me like a gust of cold wind. I've spent 5 years trying to clean it, she continued. But every time I erase one dirty tie, 10 more appear. Every time I stand up against something he did, someone reminds me of where my money came from. Her voice dropped lower. That's why I don't trust anyone. Why I can't let people close. Why I chose you. Her fingers tightened around the edge of the desk. You were the only one whose mind wasn't filled with greed when you looked at me. The only one who didn't think about my fortune, my company, my power. You thought about me. My heart twisted. Because she wasn't the Ice Queen CEO. She was a woman who grew up in a world where love was a transaction, loyalty was bought, and every smile hit a price tag. And here she was. A billionaire with everything except peace. You think I'm afraid of your truth? She looked away from me, her voice barely holding itself together. If you want to leave, I won't stop you. I should have told you earlier. You deserve someone whose wealth doesn't come from. Stop. My voice surprised even me. I stood and stepped closer. She had faced boardrooms filled with powerful men. She had argued with politicians. She had confronted shareholders worth billions. But right now, she couldn't meet my eyes. I gently placed a hand on the folder and pushed it aside. That's your past, I said softly. Not your identity. She blinked, confused. You're the one who turned this empire clean, I continued. You're the one who fights every day to fix what was broken. The fortune you have now, you earned its dignity, even if you didn't earn the original money. She looked up, startled. And besides, I added with a small smile, you think I'm afraid of your truth? For a second, just a second, her icy facade cracked. Vulnerability spilled through her eyes like a secret she never planned to reveal. You should be, she whispered. People destroy lives for money like this. Then let them try, I said quietly. I'm not leaving. Silence filled the room. Heavy, electric, real, but not painful anymore. She stared at me for a long time, and then, thank you. The words didn't leave her mouth. They echoed gently in my mind. Warm, grateful, fragile, and it was the first time her thoughts felt soft. The true reason behind the half-fortune offer. She exhaled slowly, as if releasing years of fear. There's one more thing you should know, she said. This time, she didn't hesitate. My father left conditions in the inheritance. To keep control of the empire, I needed a husband, someone the board trusted, someone with a clean heart, someone who isn't tied to any corporate family. I nodded slowly. That part one expected. But then she said something that made my breath stop. If I married someone greedy, he could claim everything. Half the fortune, half the companies, even my authority. I stared at her. You offered me half the fortune because you needed to protect yourself? She shook her head. No, I offered it because you were the only person I wasn't afraid to trust. The room fell silent again. Not uncomfortable. Not shocked. Just full of a truth that settled between us like something sacred. Choosing me wasn't an accident. She stepped closer, her voice low. When I heard your thoughts for the first time, you weren't thinking about money. You weren't imagining a future with me because of what I owned. You were worried about me. About why I looked tired. About why no one talked to me like a human. I swallowed hard. You were the first person who saw me as a woman, she whispered. Not an empire. Her gaze locked onto mine. Sharp enough to break me. Soft enough to heal me. And suddenly everything made sense. The loneliness. The walls. The power. The fear. The offer. The mind reading. The hesitation. She wasn't looking for a husband. She was looking for a safe place in a world built on lies. And somehow, I became that place. A future built on truth, not fortune. I closed the folder and gently placed my hand on hers. I don't care where your fortune came from, I said. I care where you are going. Her breath caught. And if you'll let me, I continued, I want to go with you. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. Her thoughts brushed against my mind like a warm breeze. I've never wanted anything more. For the first time since I met her, she leaned forward and rested her forehead against mine. Not as a CEO, not as a billionaire, not as someone with a secret power, but as a woman who finally felt understood. And in that moment, I knew. Her truth didn't scare me. It bonded us. Because her past wasn't what made her powerful. Her honesty did. Her strength did. Her trust did. And now, her truth belonged to me. Just as much as my loyalty belonged to her.